For the afternoon session. It should be a great time. So next up we have Todd Olson, and just to repeat, Todd is the CEO and founder at Pendo, and Pendo is a platform that accelerates and deepens software product adoption. Prior to that, he was VP of products at Rally Software, where he served through its IPO, and he's written a book, The Product-Led Organization: Drive Growth by Putting Product at the Center of Your Customer Experience, which was released in just last month, September. And I believe that is the book which is featured in the book giveaway, which you can find in the AMA section of the map after this talk. So after Todd talks, you can actually go meet him in person and exchange admiration and ask him about that book. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Todd to stage, and here you are, Todd, and I'm going to let you take it away. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Matilda. I am going to share my screen and get started. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. One second. Everyone should see my screen. Well, it's great to be here. And it's great to talk to all of you about the product-led organization. As Ed shared, this is the topic of a new book that I published in September, and I'm excited to share a lot of the content. Actually, before I jump in, one of the most frequent questions I get is why I created this book and what inspired me, and a lot of it's just conversations with customers, other companies, and some of the inspiring work companies are doing for the new digital age, new product-led age. So I'll answer more questions afterwards, but I wanted to start off there. The opening story that I like to start with is Peloton. Many of you are probably familiar with this product. I became introduced via a reference, which is always a great example of a product-led business. A colleague and friend of mine was so enthralled with this product that they just insisted that I get it. I can say that since acquiring the product and using it myself, I've been a very active promoter and reference as well. But I think this is just a fantastic case study in that this device shows up at your home. It's plugged in. Other than hearing how great it was, I knew nothing about it. I put on the snap-in shoes, get on it, and I've been hooked ever since. And I think one of the fantastic design principles they've taken advantage of is gamification. So it's giving me a lot of active feedback. It's giving me badges when I set personal records. It's reminding me about trends and streaks that I have inside the product. So it keeps bringing me back. The other surprise is that you develop a relationship with the individual. So it blends human and a kind of a high touch model delivered through product. So you really feel like you know a lot of these instructors, and they've really done a phenomenal job of building community solely through a digital product. And it's just a great example of how you can be successful with a completely product-led motion. So what is a product-led organization? This is a common question that I get, and the first thing most people's minds go to is the notion of product-led growth. Product-led growth was a term coined a few years ago by Open Venture Partners, and it's really meant to talk about the acquisition process. It's how we take a prospect from a lead through some sort of trial process and through a conversion. And product-led growth businesses are ones that grow with some virality. We're all using Zoom, and Zoom's a fantastic example here, where if you can remember a day when you didn't use Zoom, which I realize seems a little bit shocking right now, a lot of us are just added to a Zoom call. It's have a meeting with some individual before. I was using their product, and I would jump on. I was like, that's a pretty good experience, right? That's product-led growth. It is. I get introduced to something, or it's an example of product-led growth, and it helps drive some virality. Very similar to, emailing systems, where at the bottom of every single email, it would say this email is sent from XYZ business, and XYZ business is like, huh, maybe I could use that for my emailing. So you click on it, and again, that's product-led growth, that's virality. And that to me is a piece of the product-led organization. The next thing people think about when I think product-led organization is it's a product management-led business. Product management being, of course, a function within the organization. And while I think obviously product management has a key role in product-led organizations, it's not exactly what I mean by product-led. And I think people have this association in their head because when someone refers to a company as marketing-led or sales-led, they typically think of it as a sales organization driven business. Like the humans inside the company that are identified as sales are actually driving the business forward. So when you hear product, you immediately think the product organization is similarly leading the company, but that's not exactly what I mean. Rather, what I mean is the product is leading the business, and that each function of the business is thinking about how they can use the product to deliver a better customer experience. And so it's not just sales and marketing, which would be more the growth areas. It could be customer success, support. I've even spoken with some businesses that use their product for recruitment. If they have really, really happy users, maybe the users want to come work for the business, right? So recruiting, which is HR, could be absolutely using the product to help achieve its goals. So by putting product at the center of the customer experience, it helps unlock efficiencies and better ways for every aspect of the business to function. I think about it a little bit differently. I think product-led is instead of comparing it to sales-led or marketing-led, I think it's really about helping evolve from human-led and human only functions to digital or product functions. The example I like to give is when people are asking, where do I start with product-led? The classic example is think about the activities within your business that are high volume and low value that your humans are doing, and find ways to create digital versions of those. So again, high volume, low value, those are perfect candidates for thinking about product-led motions. And one of the classic examples I like to give is this Amazon Go store. I literally walked by one of these yesterday. I was so excited. I'm in San Francisco today and had an opportunity, and it's open, okay, and there's literally no humans inside. And if you think about a cashier at a retail store, a quick store, scanning these goods is absolutely a high volume, low value activity. It's not a consultative sale. When people walk into a convenience store, they don't need someone to educate them on the 12 brands of something, because you can see from the store, they don't have 12 brands of things. They have one general option of things. And it's meant for the job to be done of the store is to get in, get something quick and get out. And in that instance, humans are not necessarily needed. So this is a store where you walk in, you have some sort of smartphone device, and it's tracking everything that you're putting inside of your bag, and you simply walk out and it's charged back to your Amazon account, and that's it. And this is just a great example of what product-led can be. It's like taking something like I said, I keep repeating it, high volume, low value, and completely automating it and delivering a pleasant customer experience. People are just going to walk in and walk out. That's amazing. So I want to talk about three main aspects of your journey to being product-led. And then the first one, the first step, I think, in helping move to a product-led organization is becoming more data-driven and leveraging data in your decision making, and specifically your product decision making. If you're not measuring anything and don't have any sense of what's going on currently inside your product, it's kind of hard to take the experience to that next level. So data is a great way to start. And when people ask, where do I start measuring? My first question back is always, well, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? what aspect of the customer experience are you focused on, and what does success look like? What does winning look like? So um, metrics without a goal, just a bunch of numbers, right? So always think about, what am I trying to accomplish? What's our North Star metric for our business right now, or for our product right now? And it could be a whole variety of different ones. It could be lowering your customer acquisition costs. It could be lowering your support costs. It could be increasing conversion percentages. It could be increasing competitive win rates, or breadth of adoption, retention, et cetera. So there's a lot of varied goals, and it all depends on where you are in your business. Um, you know, we have probably a diverse set of individuals in the audience today, and folks that are ranging from startups that are looking to get the product market fit, to established businesses that are focused more on retention and efficiencies and a lot of other metrics. Like, trust me, the way you design, the way you build is going to be very, very different based on whatever your goals are. So I'd encourage you to be intentional, sit down and decide your goals, and then start building measures um, to help track and your progress against those goals. The other thing when I think about becoming more data driven, it's not just quantitative information, not just numbers. You want to enrich that or blend that with qualitative data. Just giving you some sense of usage went down or usage went up. Your first natural question is going to be, well, why? If you don't know why, it's kind of hard to affect a number, right? So by asking someone a simple poll like, hey, why did you stop using this, or why did you start using it, stop using this, or what can we do better? You're going to get this qualitative feedback, which helps you take action. And again, the combination that's really, really interesting. For example, if I know someone is a NPS promoter, what their behavior in the product becomes very interesting to me, because I can compare what a promoter is doing versus a detractor. I can start getting a sense for what areas of the product I want to drive people to. Obviously, I want to drive people towards areas in the product that lead to higher sentiment, so a promoter-like behavior. So this is a great example of how these two types of data work hand in hand. The other piece that I constantly emphasize is, people ask, what if I don't have any data? What if it's hard to get data? Like, I'm in my course, my first response is experiment, experiment, experiment. Now, this is if you're trying to make a decision, you want to get a sense of how you can drive some sort of goal, but don't exactly have the right data. Run an experiment, and this is an example of an experiment canvas, and I'm a big advocate of this because it helps you be disciplined up front, and documenting, what is your hypothesis? When you see certain results, what does that mean? And allows you to kind of run this in a way where you're not trying to, like, at the end of the experiment, kind of adjust the results or fit the experiment to whatever your bias is at that given moment. So this is a great way to, in advance, set something up so you get the necessary learnings to take your business to the next level. So that's the first piece. You're becoming more data driven. The second piece is about putting product at the center of the customer experience. And if you think about that, this is actually an example of customer lifecycle where it starts everything from lead gen, trial conversions, onboarding, all the way through to renewal and cross-sell and upsell. And each aspect of this lifecycle touches a different area of the product. So you can see here, again, this is not a product management specific function. This is something that touches every aspect. For example, your customer success team probably cares a lot about how customers are onboarded. So they need to be involved, and however you design that product-led onboarding capability. Obviously, your support team is handling all the support volume, et cetera. So this is an opportunity to involve these different areas of the business. And when we're thinking of how product can help functions like sales and marketing, it's not just this conversion funnel. It's not just the examples I gave in the earlier part of my talk about Zoom and the emailing function, where it's driving this reference and virality. Another one is, this is a more B2B example, but this is a G2 crowd review. There's plenty of review sites out there. Trust Radius is another one. It's a place where you can understand um, public reviews on software products, almost kind of aligned to a crowdsourced Gartner group, something to this effect. And look, I mean, a lot of people say, well, of course, a good product will lead to a positive review. Yes, but you can also design into the product the ability to drive people to create the reviews. As an example, like let's say you are giving someone an NPS survey and that individual is a 9 or a 10, so they are a promoter. What if not just after they mark that and you ask for the, hey, why are you happy? Say, would you mind leaving a review? Click here, and take you right to it. That's a simple product design element that will drive more reviews. And the more reviews your product has, very, very likely it will help create more word of mouth and drive more marketing. Similarly, here's an example of, can we count you as a reference? Maybe you're targeting certain users of your product. In this case, it's we have it for the European community, so we're looking at geographically where they're located, but we may even be looking at individuals who use certain areas of product. Like, wow, it'd be really good to have a reference that uses this area of our product, because then they can go talk to other ones. That's a great example of product-led marketing, or how product-led businesses can help marketing do its job. These are two charts, and a big, like almost an onboarding nerd. So I think onboarding is such a big problem, or challenge. It's this first experience. This is one where we've been collaborating with customers, and it compares users that have taken part of a formal onboarding class, like a human-led onboarding session, versus ones that haven't on the bottom. You can see here, this is an NPS score between the two cohorts, and there's a 12-point difference between individuals that have taken part in a human-led onboarding course versus not. It's a pretty big delta. Another customer, very similar results. Users that started using the product within the first 2 weeks of a customer being turned on, hence they're most likely have gone through a human-led onboarding course. Look at the difference in sentiment, and I'm using NPS as a proxy for sentiment, between that cohort and users that came post 2 weeks, and of course post 6 months. So pretty major drop off. The biggest drop off is in the first 2 weeks. So what does that tell you? It tells you that when we're hand holding our customers, or in this particular case, things are good. When people just kind of pop in later, they're not getting that same experience. And what's if you think about your product in this context, you're over time probably going to have more users in those latter cohorts than the first cohorts. There's a lot of change inside your customer base. People change jobs every 18 months or something to this effect. So you're going to have this challenge, and it's important to design your product and your onboarding experience for this challenge. And one of the ways to do this is to understand what are the things you want your users to accomplish. And you can call this an aha moment or a core event or something to this something in this vein. But Facebook had a very famous aha moment that's been well documented, that if you make 7 friends in the first 10 days, they're seeing a statistical correlation with those users retaining. So of course, if once you understand what these aha moments are, then lead the users to them. This is a great example of Dropbox's aha moment, which is saving one file in one device. When you start using that product for the very, very first time, what do? They get you to save one file on one device. They take you right to it. And look at the third screenshot where they gray out the entire screen. They highlight the add button. They have a tooltip there to kind of drive your eyes to it. They're not letting you just explore and try to figure out. They're getting you to that aha moment to get you in, try to get you hooked so you keep coming back. And I would encourage you to think about design this way. When someone starts using the product for the first time, like, show them the best part of your product. Don't just, this isn't an activity that you need people to necessarily explore it at first. Once people get in and do that first thing, you can kind of encourage them to check things out, but like drive them towards these aha moments, and you'll get better outcomes. Another area of the customer lifecycle that I'm very, very passionate about is self-service. You know, years ago, I had a new a new child, and I was trying to add this new child to my health benefits, and I was using one of our HR applications, and I literally couldn't figure it out. Now, mind you, of course, I build and design software for a living, and I thought that this is craziness that I can't figure out how to add my kid to my insurance. And I eventually got so frustrated, I could not figure it out, that I had to actually pick up a phone and call a human being to ask them how to do it. Now, after I finally after I waited on hold for 30 minutes and got someone on the phone, it took that person all of 15 seconds to help clarify how to do this. It was not amazing design, but you know what? It was written there. So at that point, of course, I felt like an absolute idiot for one, not noticing this button on my own. Honestly, not really reading the product as well, so that was a little bit frustrating. I wasted this person's time having to explain it. It was a Saturday. I wasted 35 minutes of my time, or probably longer, actually, now thinking about all the time I spent searching for this thing. Anytime a product leaves your users feeling like an idiot, that's a bad customer experience. So I'd encourage you to provide mechanisms in your product to search for common questions. If this is a common question, if there's a little icon that I could have clicked and said, how do I add blah, 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 and they showed me a quick self-service area. I'll go to this, because it was actually a multi-page process. That would have felt good, because then when you provide the ability to self-service, you actually give your users a chance to feel smarter. It's the exact opposite feeling, because you're teaching me something that I didn't know before. So this is a great opportunity again to think about the customer experience. So the last section I want to talk a little bit about is a new way of delivering product, because if you think about being data driven and putting product at the center of your customer experience, the way you build software, the way you probably organize your teams, needs to evolve to help support this new way of doing things. And one of the first areas that I like to think about is the evolution of the release. Earlier in my career, we would do annual or even 6-month releases. It was build, ship. I mean, this was in the era of desktop software, or even on-premise software, where things are much slower to distribute. But now, powered by cloud technologies, we can ship software very, very frequently. And what we're now able to do, much more so than before, is we're able to have a progressive release. We can have a stage where, as we're shipping software frequently, maybe you can go into a phase where it's just available to employees or internal stakeholders. And this is a great example. If you build a product that you being your company, or you yourself personally, can use, it's an opportunity for you to get your hands on early technology and provide feedback loops early in the process before customers see it. It's another great hack, because if you're sharing with your internal stakeholders, it's also a way to help educate them on what's coming soon. Like, of course, you want your internal stakeholders to understand the product prior to your customers seeing it. So it's just a great opportunity to it's a little hack for enablement or education. From there, you can have the notion of closed beta. So this opportunity to have some key users, customers that maybe they're hand selected because they're really good at giving feedback. Maybe they're hand selected because they're low risk, like they're friendly. Maybe they're high risk. Maybe you actually want to test some performance thing that, some special characteristics of the customer, and you know it could be a challenging example. That's another great example of potential closed beta. But whatever the criteria, be intentional about who you want to test, because the goal here is in rapid learning and feedback loops. From there, of course, you can have some open beta and then GA. And it's just a really powerful way to rethink of the release. If you're still releasing software where like you build something and then just ship it and turn it on for everyone, it's kind of a lost opportunity. You know, I've talked to some customers that, you know, you can potentially charge to being in a beta. I know it may seem counterintuitive, but users naturally like, especially if they love your product, they like partnering. They want to be part of the creation process. They want to have some impact on the outcome. So, so give them the opportunity to do so. So, managing feedback. Once you ship something, you're going to have feedback, and the challenge is that feedback, if you don't create some sort of centralization for it, you get absolute chaos. So there's, you know, you could have Slack messages, support tickets, and what you end up with is lots of spreadsheets and spreadsheet sprawl. And, you know, I walk into a business and I see a top 10 list for support, a top 10 list. That's a mess. So I'd encourage you to think about how to centralize that feedback into a single location. The benefit of that as well is now, if you're shipping something and it was sourced by a customer, you can complete that feedback loop. You can communicate back to the customers of, hey, we shipped this thing. So you're actually getting credit for doing it. The last thing a user wants is you ask this user for feedback, they give you feedback, then it goes into a black hole. It doesn't feel very good. And the last thing I want to talk about is organization, product ops. Product ops is a new emerging function we're seeing, or product operations, and it's a part of the product organization that is typically the orchestrator of all these activities. Like, for example, who manages your feedback process? Who helps with the controlled rollout of beta programs and releases? Who helps create consistency in how we measure things? Product operations is a new role. It's typically a cross-functional role. It'll collaborate with engineering, customer success to help align the organization on how to use the product without there being chaos and a mess. Like, if you have support and sales all trying to use the product for different functions, you need some orchestration to make sure that these interests don't collide and ultimately create a worse customer experience. So as we talked about, becoming product-led is a lot more than growth. It's about leveraging data for product decision-making. It's about putting product at the center of the customer experience. And all of these things require you to adjust the way you deliver product, and again, the way you even organize your product teams. And one metaphor I like is, in many ways, your product is going to wear a lot of different hats depending on what the needs of your business are. And every business, again, has different needs, but this is a great opportunity. So the challenge, you know, I want everyone to think about is, what can your product offload from humans? What high volume, low value activities can you have your product do for you? And then experiment with it. You know, come up with a thesis and see how it can have a positive impact on your business. And, you know, the example I'll leave you with, this is a company called Toast. It's a US-based company. It traditionally had been a point of sale system in restaurants, and you can only imagine that the restaurant industry has been heavily impacted in the last few months globally, and they've had to adjust. And, you know, given it has been impacted, they've had to reduce staffing within their business, and they have shifted to more product-led mindset to, one, continue delivering great customer service, but to help their customers transition from typically an in-person dining experience to a curbside or to-go dining experience, to a situation where you're having individuals, you know, describe menu items, to having everything digitally, and they themselves are using digital services to onboard customers and help service them better. And if I think about the product-led, again, it's not just about growth. It's not just about when times are good, how do I create more virality? It's how do you weather tough times? And product-led is a powerful way to not just grow, but also weather the tough times. So with that, I'll stop sharing and thank you. And I'll be jumping over into a Q&A session shortly.
Thank you so much, Todd. A very fascinating and profound topic, lucidly explained. So that's fantastic. And thank you also for piping in all the way from San Francisco. I mean, it must be about 6 in the morning or something where you are. So that's very kind of you. And so, as mentioned, Todd is going to be in the AMA room. And so, if you want personal contact with this entrepreneur, author, and product marketing thinker, that's the place to go. You can go to the AMA room and, well, you can ask Todd anything within, the bounds of politesse. Great. So thanks, Todd. We look forward to finding you over there. And I think perhaps in the auditorium chat, a link will be thrown in to ease passage across. And so for those of you